Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Jagdpanzer E100. It's a tier 10 German tank destroyer. It's located on the southwest spawn of Glacier, and this one is under the command of Cursed by Design. Now the Jaegeru, as it's otherwise known, or the broomstick of death as some people have actually called it, is actually a piece of fiction. It's Wargaming's idea of what a tank destroyer might have looked like if they'd used the E100 hull instead of for a tank. Instead they used it for a tank destroyer. It's quite an interesting tank destroyer. It's got a very strong casement at the back. It's got the standard E100 hull with the shields around the tracks to protect it from Arty blasts, and the gun is actually an Arty gun. Yes, it's a 17cm gun, a Kanonen, which of course, as you know, Germans would actually call the Arty guns Kanonen, and this one's a 17cm, so of course it's basically the same sort of gun you would actually see on some of the GWs that in the game, the Geschutzwagens. Well, one of the bad things about this Arty is, of course, the long reload. By the book, it's 24.64 seconds. It's a 17cm howitzer, which is in a tank, anti-tank configuration. It's capable of doing 1050 alpha with standard rounds, you can see here. And it will penetrate 299mm of armour, and with the heat rounds it will go through 420, so there's not much on the battlefield it cannot pen. But of course it does depend on where you hit the enemy, and if the shell bounces off you can still do that. Yeah, not sure that did hit the 110 out there, but of course if you do hit heavy armour on an enemy vehicle it could just as easily not get through. Now, it does have an impressive ability to overmatch some armour because of course it's 17cm, 170mm, and yes, you can see there went right through the front of the T95 FP4201 Chieftain. Didn't have any problem with that one at all, but it was a heat round, and they are quite expensive, these shells, so you do have to get a decent amount of damage to compensate you for the shells that you fired. They're still there, you see, they're using the same area to fight the game, and of course they're taking damage as a result. I get ready for that 110 to pop out of that corner because it looks like he's taken a few hits. Oh, no, he's not popping out now. He just took too many hits there and he's out the game. Well, the problem with this position is it does give you fairly limited ability to shoot the enemy. I say that and then he kills the T95 FP4201 with his next shot. Mind you, that guy was playing that tank in the wrong place on the map. Totally the wrong place for a heavy tank to be fighting it out over the ridgeline. Even though he's got 10 degrees of gun depression, he should have been elsewhere. And that Sheridan, well, or T49 actually that was just doing a quick spotting run. And at his speed, it was going to be very difficult for Cursed by Design to get a shot on. On top of that, there's a T54 up on top of the carrier trying to do a bit of spotting, but of course he is a medium tank, and from here it'll be a little difficult for him to spot the Jaegeru. He's being proxy spotted by the A Phase 1 and the Kramvarm beneath him. That's why we can see him, but he probably can't see us. I very much doubt he would actually see us. Well, we're 2 tanks down on the enemy at the moment, so it's not looking so good. And that's even with the kill that Cursed by Design's managed to get so far. There's an Emil 2 trying to make his way up over the centre line near the ramp. But Cursed by Design is leaving that to one of the others to actually have a go at. Trouble is, there's no other tank destroyers in his team at the moment. Okay, now he's going to deal with this by moving around. He could go up near the bunker. Yes, he's going to do that. Because from this position here, yes, he can get shots on these guys as they pop up. And they can't see him because the trees do get in the way. Now, let's hope his teammates are able to spot for him. Well, looks like the A phase 1's just taking some damage as well. It looks like enemy Arty is working that position. 2 enemy Arty in the game, batch at 155.55 and a school bus, the SU-14 too. Of course, that's one of the things about the Jaeger. It's so slow that it actually is quite a big Arty target. So if you do see it, then you tend to hit it quite heavily and fast. Oh, hit the rock face. Otherwise, that T-54 would be toast right now. Let's see if he stays there. He's been tracked. Okay, now, is he still going to be there when we're ready and loaded? He's pulling back. No, he's popped back down below. He might pop up again, though. Except, of course, the enemy is now getting fairly close, so we might have to change our field of fire now. But anyway, they've lost one of their tanks, and oh no, this is interesting. The T-49 has come up here to do some spotting, so I think we're about to start receiving fire from some of the enemy. But before we do that, we've got a Hesh bomb, and he's out the game with one shot. And we bounced around the Hesh round that came from him, 1,750. But here comes the Arty. As you'd expect, such a slow moving target, it's very easy for Arty to get shots on a Jaeger. But now we can see the enemy in sight. There's a Lorraine 40-ton over there, and we've got a shell ready for him. So if you stay still long enough, you're dead. And he's dead. Yep. No armor on the 40-ton, well, virtually nothing. So, yes, a 17cm shell is going to make a hell of a mess of him. And he's out the game. So now we're back to par. Arty just had a shotgun. We're still loading, and unfortunately didn't get a chance to hit the T-54 again after the last time. But I think this time round we will go down and deal with him face to face, because he's asked for it. And yes, that's an Amarak. He's imitating a Russian tank. Well, he is a Russian tank, actually. He's just popped his top. It's rather embarrassing for the Russians that they made such a terrible design error with the T-72. Because, of course, the auto-loading carousel in the T-72, which has been replicated in the T-80 and the T-90, is a death trap for the crew of that tank. And that's a mutual annihilation, which now means that Kurtz by design is the last one alive on his team. And there comes the Arty. But he's also facing 2 enemy SPGs. So that batch at 155.55 and the school bus that I mentioned earlier are now the only ones left. But there's another problem here. This tank destroyer's got a maximum speed of 30 kilometers an hour, so it does take it a little while to drive around. And if he was to drive to the enemy cap right now to start capping, it might be that he'll find the batch at 155.55 will be over in his cap to start capping in the other direction, whilst his teammate would be resetting. Now, if I was in one of the Artys, that's what I'd be telling my teammates. You go cap, send the batch chat off to cap, and leave the school bus somewhere, probably down in the southeast corner, to get resets on the cap as the Jaeger is capping. And then, of course, you win the game. Kurtz by design is banking on one of the enemy being at the cap. And if they have stayed at the cap, then they haven't thought clearly through what they should be doing tactically. Again, going uphill, really difficult in this tank destroyer. Not well, it has got a huge amount of power, the engine, but it's so slow because it's actually 150 tons in weight, and that's why it takes so long to get up the slope. It was dreadfully underpowered actually when it came to moving about. The actual power 1,200, and there's the school bus. Yeah, he's obviously making his way down to the southeast corner, just as I predicted someone might. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to get up that slope to get a shot at him as he goes past. Even with him being very, very slow, he might get past the gap before Cursed by Design can get his shot in, but he might be able to get this one. He does! Excellent. Well, that means now the enemy has been handicapped, because even if the Batchat 155-55 was to start capping, Cursed by Design could probably get to him in time, and yes, he is capping, just as I expected. And I haven't seen this video, so I did suggest exactly what should happen. The school bus should have gone into the southeast corner, so that the Jaeger was as far away from it as possible, but then he could sneak up through the perimeter road to get close to the cap to see where the guy was. But yes, it's worked out very bad for the enemy now, because the Jaeger does have very good view range, 390 meters, and I'm afraid the view range for the Batchat 155-55 is a lot less. I think, if I remember correctly, it's something like 360 meters. I can just check that actually, because I do keep notes. It's 270 actually. So he's easily going to see the enemy before the enemy sees him. I thought it was something like 360, but yes, he's spotting this guy straight away. Now let him get to 70. He's got him to 70. Now he just needs to take him out. Well, he got a critical hit, which means he's got his reset, and that means he's got his defender medal. So now all he needs to do is finish the guy off with his next shot. He could load an HE round, he would overwhelm that guy. That Batchat must realise that he's about to die. And that's it, game. Well done. Here's the end of battle results, and that was the first class tanker for Cursed by Design in the Jaeger, the Jagdpanzer E100. He managed to get a demolition expert because he blew the turret off that T-54. He also got a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits, in fact he got 7, and he got a Pascucci's medal for killing 2 enemy SPGs, a Top Gun for getting at least 6 kills. He got 6 with the last one, the Batchat 155-55, and of course he got that defender medal when he reset the cap. He must have actually hit the tracks of that Batchat. I think he did mean to kill the guy with that shot, but it was a bit of a snapshot towards the end, and in fact he was lucky that the Batchat didn't run away. The moment he got hit the first time, he must have thought to himself, uh-oh, the Jaeger is in range of me, can see me. Well, of course he knew that because the sixth sense would have gone off, and therefore he should have run off and hid, but he didn't. He actually stuck around and suddenly realised, oh, I do need to seek cover. And at that point it was too late because Cursed had him. So win 8 for the game was 5,360. Yes, he saved his team at the end. He actually did win the game for them when he was outnumbered 2-1. But it still worked out okay for Cursed by Design. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he did get the highest damage in the game, but he didn't get the high caliber. Wasn't 20% of the enemy hit pool. 4,163 hit points of damage. The next high scorer being the T-54 that he popped the top on. 2,925 hit points of damage went to him. And then 2,806 went to the Skoda T-56 on his own team. When it came to kills, he had the highest number of those. 6 kills, which is 2/5 of the enemy team. 3 kills went to the Skoda T50 and the Batchat 155-55, who was obviously a good Arty player, but unfortunately for him, he was facing too big a task at the end of the game, And I think he should have left capping until he actually saw that Curse by Design had gone into the cap. He shouldn't have started capping as early as he did. And I think he did start capping early, mainly because he saw the death of his SU-14 to teammate and thought, oh, that's where he is. He's rather close. Really, that should have been an indication that he shouldn't cap. Not that he should cap, that he shouldn't cap. He should wait until it gets to the 1 minute 50 seconds and then jump in just before the 1 minute 50 seconds goes. Or should wait until Curse by Design starts capping and then jump in. So that effectively it guarantees a draw. Because, of course, if he starts capping the moment that Curse by Design does, Curse by Design can't win because both players will get to 100% within the end time, that 5-second grace period right at the end. So they both would have capped out. They both would have ended with a draw. But even whilst he was capping, he could then fire at Jaegeru, fire at Curse by Design from his capping position. He could fire all the way over the map at the cap to try and get a reset himself, and that would have given him potentially a win. So tactically, the Batchat didn't make the right choice. He should have done that. He didn't, and as a consequence, he ended up losing that game. Just something to bear in mind in future battles. If you see that sort of situation where your teammate has been wiped out, you're the last one alive, you're an Arty, but you've got a fairly fast Arty, and the Batchat 155.55 is a fast Arty, there's no doubt about that, then he could have forced a draw, or he could have got a reset, which would then give him the win. So it was up to him to push that, but he didn't, and Curse by Design took advantage of that to win the game. When it came to base XP, he hasn't got that one because that one went to the brass. Yes, he was tier 8 in a tier 10 game, so he earned a Leather Slayer's medal and got 971 base XP. 942 went to Curse by Design, 933 went to the Skoda T56, and the T44 also got a Leather Slayer's for killing enemy tanks to at least one tier higher than himself. Let's have a look at detail. 12 shots fired, 9 direct hits on the enemy, 7 penetrations. Yeah, he had a couple of rounds which didn't go where he expected them to. Especially he got one round that bounced off the front of a T95 FE4201, or was it one of the other ones he hit? But he also bounced around off the Batchat's wheels, and that's why he got 2 that didn't penetrate. 4,163 hit points of damage, of which 3,302 were at more than 300 meters, so most of it long range. And in fact, that's quite funny because the Jaegeru isn't a long range sniper. It's not that good a gun. It's actually a fairly short range, not short range, I'd say medium range tank destroyer. It was quite good when he was shooting towards the center line, but it wouldn't be good over very long range because, of course, it's not that accurate, not like a Gorilla or some of the other sniper tanks like a Leopard or a Leopard prototype. Those are real snipers. They can hit a pixel at a long way away. 4 hits received from the enemy, 1 penetration, 2 non-penetrations, and 2 hits by way of splash damage as well. Yes, it's a very big target, very easy to hit, and also you saw a lot of rounds were bouncing off him simply because they just can't get through that frontal armor. It's very strong. 300 hit points of damage blocked by armor, 2 enemy vehicles spotted, 7 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, 78 defense points. That got him his Defender medal. He earned 50,058 credits for the game, but he did use heat ammo to try and get those pens, and as a consequence that cost him quite a bit, so he ended up with a loss of 42,644 credits. He got 7 bonds because it was a tier 10 game, 1,413 XP, 2,826 for mission completion, and 4,239 experience points altogether. So let's have a look at the armor on this vehicle. Yeah, it's very strong armor actually. Don't belie the fact that this is showing orange colors here. You're looking at a frontal plate which is 200mm thick, and with the angling comes out at 320. Lower plate 150mm thick, coming out at 253 with the angling. Frontal plate of the casement 25 centimeters thick, but coming out with effective angling of 274. You're not going to get through the mantlet at all. 300 millimeters with effective armor of 326. It's very difficult to get a shell through there. It's fairly easy to get one through here if you're using heat ammo and you're in a tier 10 tank. But yes, the armor's very strong. The skirts on the side act as spaced armor. You can see there you're getting impacted armor of 60, 40 and 120. The 120 is the side armor. The 40 and the 60 are the spaced armor from the actual shields, those E100 shields over the tracks. Side of the casement is 15 centimeters, coming out effective 155 because there's a slight angling. Even the rear of this vehicle is strong, 15 centimeters, but it's flat, therefore it's only 15 centimeters altogether. Let's have a quick look at the modules. Now, you've got two crew members rather, up front in this vehicle. We've got the driver on the right-hand side, we've got the driver's mate on the left-hand side. They're both sitting behind the transmission, so it's front wheel on this one, front wheel drive. And behind them is sitting the engine. We've got two fuel tanks, one on either side of the wings of the vehicle, you might say, feeding into that big engine there. And behind the engine, if I get this right, there you go, is a huge ammo store, and that's the main ammo rack for this vehicle. Chances of you getting that are very slim because, of course, to get at that ammo rack you have to go through spaced armor at the sides. You possibly can penetrate it from the rear. Remember, it's not a rear engine, so you should be able to get at the ammo rack. Remember, it's only 15 centimeters thick at the rear, and of course, if you're in a tier 10 tank, shouldn't be a problem getting through that. But remember, you've got to get behind this thing, and with a tank destroyer you don't want to be at the pointy end if you can help it. But of course, remember, this thing can just back up against the wall to protect itself from shots going in from this direction, and then it can protect that big fuel tank there and the ammo rack just behind that. You've got two loaders at the back. Of course, the gunner is on the right hand side, tank commander on the left hand side. It's a bit of a beast, this thing. It's very difficult to penetrate it from the front, but those people who use heat rounds can normally get through here, and they tend to. But the thing is that if you haven't got the penetration and you're trying to use standard ammo, the only way to get this tank with a tier 10 is actually to get behind it and shoot it in the rear. But the problem, as I said, with that is that if you do try to do that, more than likely he's going to back up against some hard object, protect his rear, and then turn that big 17 centimeter gun at you and blow you out of existence. So there you go, that's the Jaeger's modules. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm, keeps him fed during the day. And of course, please do remember that we're giving all of the proceeds from this channel to the Red Cross Ukraine appeal. So if you please watch some of our videos, any of our videos. What you're doing is you're actually, by watching those videos, you're sending money to help the refugees coming out of the war. So please watch as many as you can, and then we can send the money to the Red Cross, who can then look after the people coming out of the war. Thanks for watching.